It started with, I'm going to call it like a roar, something huge, tremendous, literally earth-shaking, but it was off in the distance. Maybe a little something like that. You can hear it.
I'm frightened.
A little bit in the distance.
I'm a bit frightened.
And then at about 4:30 p.m. on October the 24th, 1901, the barrel, it was about 4.5 feet tall, custom designed model, packed with pillows and an anvil, was lowered into the water. It had been tested the week before with a cat, but this time the passenger was human. Now the barrel, the support crew.
Where does the anvil come into it? Is that with the passenger?
The anvil's down the bottom. The anvil's down the bottom of the so anvil, passenger, pillows. I think if we're layering, and in some stories it was anvil, passenger, pillows, cat, lid. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I'm already horrified. The idea of being nailed into a barrel with a fucking cat is terrifying. Those things are evil.
Yeah. So anyway, they put it in the water and put the passenger in, and everybody said a brief goodbye.
Passenger.
Passenger.
That's fast and loose with the word passenger.
It's a passenger. And the support crew closed the lid, pumped some fresh air into the barrel with a bicycle pump. And
can you breathe? Yeah. What about the cat? Not sure.
I'll come to that story a bit. Like there is just much later in this episode. Much later, there is a bad story about that. But anyway, that's not the main story. Not the main story. So they pumped it what they thought maybe an hour's worth of air. Yeah. I don't know if they technically checked this.
Is that an hour or an owl? An hour's worth of air doesn't sound like enough.
No, an hour. And then they sealed it up and towed the barrel to the Canadian side of the river, and then let it go.
I have a feeling I know where they're heading.
It bobbed for a while and then began to pick up speed. The sound of the roaring got louder and louder and louder. The barrel swerved and swooped down the rapids towards the edge. The roar of the falls, as you can imagine, was getting louder and louder and louder. And then suddenly, as I reached the brink at the very top of the Niagara Falls, the barrel did what I predicted it would do, paused for a moment, and then made the awful plunge.
You were in the barrel?
I was in the barrel. Welcome to the Wholesome Show, the science stories podcast for people who sit at the back of the barrel.
Back of the bus?
Back of the barrel.
In which we sometimes ask some questions that you don't have to, but I think we're pretty slack on questions now. It's more like assertions.
Both. The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, and...
me, Dr. Roderick Griffin, Plunger Lamberts.
Plunger.
I'm going to plunge with you. I'm going to plunge with the barrel.
That's a great surfy nickname.
Yeah.
Plunger.
It's also a good name for a plumber. Or a home handyman. How you going, Plunger?
Just as I was taking my sip of the beer, he got me there.
That's the best.
The Wholesome Show is brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of
Niagara Falls.
Of Niagara Falls and plunging off barrels of science.
And
of
barrels,
science.
Barrels with cats and anvils in them. That sounds like a recipe, but I'm not sure what for. Take a barrel.
One barrel.
Some pillars.
Yeah.
A cat. An anvil. Seasoned to taste.
It does sound
Throw it over a waterfall.
It's like the ancient Roman torture where you're supposedly sewn... I don't know about the bull, but you're sewn up inside an animal skin, like an old cow skin, so leathery and thick, with 7 cats. And then I think chucked in a river, or it doesn't matter at this point.
Who cares?
At this point, you've got 7 cats in there.
You're going to drown anyway.
Well, you're also going to be scratched to death.
Yeah,
so.
I'm really not worried. But like a cat, I can stop. They break easily. I'm told. Friend told me.
More than 7 cats.
Like 8? Okay, now I'm horrified. That's just gone too far.
All right.
I might need to press pause and go and have a lie down.
The Romans probably had some worse tortures, but anyway.
7 horses. That'll be worse.
We digress.
We do.
Teenagers, you might be surprised to learn, have basically the lowest death rate amongst the whole population.
What? Lowest?
Yeah, the lowest. Teenagers.
Because they're young?
Yeah, because they're young.
But
yes,
they're dumber.
Young, but we've blooded them. No. So there's, if you graph the death rate of the population, starts a little bit high. Sadly, babies.
Which population? Dude, I need context. Of the people.
Of the people.
The population
of the
people.
humans. And I think this actually probably transcends to most animals, different years. But most animals probably have a similar sort of thing. It's basically U-shaped. So babies, the death rate is something like 1 in 200.
Well, they're fucking weak.
Yes,
Babies are weak.
that's the problem.
Yep.
Then it goes down to kids age 1 to 4. It's like 1 in 5,000, and then it hits the bottom. This is your annualized death rate, your likelihood of dying in a year. Between the age of 5 and 14, it's like 1 in 10,000. Gets a little bit higher from 15 to 24. But it's still, those are the lowest sort of between your kid years and 24. That's when your chance of death is as low as possible.
But this is we're talking in the 1900s, right? Because these days you get motorcycles and shit.
Oh no. This is current data.
Oh.
But yes, you are connecting it with the 1900s, and that is important.
I remember stuff occasionally.
You do remember
briefly.
stuff. You do remember stuff. No, but well, here's the thing. You just mentioned motorbikes. Because the thing is, when teenagers do die, they die from very different things.
Dumb shit.
Dumb shit, yes.
I had a motorcycle as a teenager, and statistically in Queensland, I was dead 4 times. It was overpowered. It was a 750cc. It had shit all control. It was old and crappy. I think I was 17. I rode it a lot. And so I should have been dead, 4 times.
This is the thing. I remember, and it's a little bit the genesis of what I'm trying to do in this story today.
Yeah.
I remember my wife telling me that most of the brains they ever study for neuroscience come from 19-year-old men. Largely because they die in ways that preserves the brain in a beautiful way. It's similarly...
Yeah, but it's not a beautiful brain that's been preserved, though, is it? I mean...
No.
This is the brain of a 19-year-old boy. We want to find out about... No, not much of humanity, actually.
Many 19-year-old boys have done amazing things. Many are idiots as well.
Like Einstein.
But yes. This is the thing. Babies die of, really sad things. I mean, it's congenital things that... they're not necessarily that likely to survive from, and that's really sad. It's horrible.
These are the things you
Old
mostly
people,
die from, things you're not likely to survive from.
That's true.
You're right.
That's true.
That's very technical. But I interrupted.
You did. But no, that's it's things they're not going to survive from. Die from.
Keeping it accurate.
All groups die from things that they're not likely to survive from.
This is mostly true.
Babies, the things they're not likely to survive from, it's congenital stuff that they were born with, and they're not likely to necessarily survive. Or there's things like SIDS, Southern Infant Death Syndrome, stuff like that. Southern
Infant Death.
Yeah, there's Northern Infant Death Syndrome, Southern Infant Death Syndrome.
Which is far classier.
I don't know.
That's probably from moonshine.
Yeah, old people. You know what old people die of?
Old.
No.
Diseases of old.
We don't call that anymore.
What do we call it? Natural? Beautiful death?
I don't think we... I think that's a cop-out. I think when anyone writes died of old
Natural
age...
causes.
I think the modern society says, no, that's not enough. We need more data.
We need 11 autopsies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's no such thing. Just died. You can't just die. You've got to die of something.
It's like trees. Trees live forever unless you kill them. People are the same. That's science.
Old people die heart disease, lung cancer, other cancers, things like that. Stuff that, those sorts of diseases. But the teenagers, and this is what the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare calls external causes.
Ah.
Except the external is in them. But it's accidents, violence, suicide, things like that. The thing that we've known for forever, adolescents, teenagers, they take far more risk than any other part of the population.
I've heard rumours.
Yeah, exactly. You ride your motorbike with no helmet while standing on the handlebars.
Hey, I always wear a helmet. I'm not an idiot.
But no, they commit crimes more. They contract sexually transmitted diseases more.
Sexually traumatic diseases.
Sexually traumatic diseses and the transmitted diseases.
Both.
They drive faster than adults. They do. They take heaps and heaps of...
Not all adults, but carry on.
So death and injury rates among teens, while they're not dying less than young children, the things that they are dying way higher because of that.
Yeah.
And in fact, it seems to peak. They've found out there's some studies that show teenage risk peaks at 14.38 years. Like
This is in the global population.
global population. We calculated the age at which our group of participants made the greatest proportion of risky choices.
14.3.
14.38 if you want to go sciencey.
I do. What's the third decimal?
That's 4 months. Just under 4 months.
14.
Carry the 5.
14.
14 and a bit. 14
Really?
and a bit. So luckily...
So we're dumbest at 14.
Yeah. Or 14 and a bit.
Survival-wise, we're dumbest at 14 and a bit.
In terms of making risky choices. Yeah, exactly. Because obviously old people, they're dying from compounding life choices, bad food, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Babies, not their fault at all, but making dumb, risky choices in the moment.
Some dickhead babies, they deserve it.
Now, this doesn't mean that they're the most likely to die.
No.
It's the risky choices happen at that point, but thankfully we don't let 14.38-year-olds drive a car.
Or make their own decisions in general.
No, exactly. We wait until they're 17.
They can't be trusted.
And they just another
when they're safe.
2.5 years, and everything has been
You
fixed.
seem fine to me. Here are the wheels of, the keys to a 2.5-ton object that can go at 900 kilometres an hour. Sorry,
Get on a
for our
motorbike.
American listeners, 900 kilometres an hour is 4 miles.
So, there's a whole bunch of studies that science have done that shows, this kind of thing. So there's one where they're getting teenagers to choose a card game, or all groups of people to choose a card game. And there's a risky deck. It's got big payouts and a steady deck.
Yeah.
Where, which one do the teenagers choose?
I'm going to go out on a limb here. Both.
I want a bit of risk and a bit of steady.
I want both, please, sir.
And so
Of course they do.
Of course they do. So, but the question is why?
Because that's all I got.
But
I assume you're
it's
going
an
to help me
important
with
question.
this. You're going to help me with this.
In the years before 1901, a couple of people had done barrel-related stunts in the Niagara River. The first...
One guy swallowed 3. It was very impressive.
The first in 1886 was Carlisle D. Graham. Now, listener, I am going to put a picture of Carlisle D. Graham up on our Twitter account after this. But if you don't get to do that, please Google a picture of Carlisle Graham, because... Oh my God!
It's the most fancy pants old American name there is.
Yeah,
My name is Carlisle.
And look at this fancy pants old American, Rod. Look at this guy standing around in his underpants.
He's a teenager?
I think he's older. I don't have his age. He's not a teenager. He's standing around in his underpants with an amazing moustache and a giant barrel.
He really is.
So proud.
And two things to note: the underpants are like from the soles of his feet down to his wrist and up to his neck.
That's how they wore underpants in that
They
time.
did. And the barrel, I would go closer to sarcophagus. But other than that, I think you've described it well.
Look at that moustache. Look at that jauntiness. So I will put up... Anyway, Carlisle D.
That is
Graham.
a powerful moustache.
So Carlisle Graham was the first guy to do some barrel shit in the Niagara Falls area.
In the region.
Now, first for geography buffs, there's a bunch of things in the Niagara Falls area that are called falls or rapids or things like that. The big one, the famous one, is actually called the Horseshoe Falls. And that's...
is that right?
Yeah. The Niagara Falls is like 3 or 4 different features. There's the rapids, the whirlpool, the American Falls, and the Horseshoe Falls.
And the very polite Canadian falls, they don't count?
No, that's the Horseshoe Falls.
They're just the horseshoe.
Yeah, there's another set of falls that are all on the American side. That's the American side.
Fuck yeah, it is.
But yeah, so there's a bunch of things that are, I wouldn't go jumping in and swimming across. Really tough sort of things.
Because you could.
Horseshoe Falls are the big bad, the boss of them all.
They're the ones from the movies.
Anyway, they're the ones from the movies,
Yeah.
Superman and stuff like that.
And everything to do with the rom-com.
Yeah, it's a great place for a rom-com.
Yeah.
In fact, there's some nice rom-com plots coming up. There's one in here. It's a sad rom-com, however, because, the dinner date doesn't happen. Anyway, so Carlisle Graham, this is so weird. He's a barrel maker by trade. He's from England, but he moved to Philadelphia, and he's a barrel maker. So he's a cooper making barrels, and he's like, you know what? I can apply my skills here. I can make some badass barrels, and then float down the rapids of the Grand Rapids in Niagara Falls. He was the first.
What a way to sell your wares.
Look at my barrel!
I know. I'm making olive oil. Why would I buy your barrels? Check this shit out.
These barrels, really strong barrels.
Yeah, if you're going to smuggle across international borders, particularly if one country's lower than the other, these are the barrels.
So I think I showed you his second barrel, which is a 213 centimeter barrel, taller than him. He's 6 foot tall, this guy, 183.
Serious?
His first barrel was 168 centimeters.
Oh, that
So it's like
doesn't-
50. So he had to
no.
crouch down. And but he did it, well,
What was it? Procrustes. Wasn't he the guy who lay on the bed and his feet and things, anything that hung over the end of the bed?
yeah, maybe.
Procrustean barrels.
Okay, so 1886, Carlisle Graham decided he was going to go down the Great Gorge Rapids and the Whirlpool. So this is all downstream from the famous Horseshoe Falls.
That's a good
So he
one.
crashed inside his barrel,
Yeah.
and they screwed him in place. He had some sort of waterproof canvas inside, except his arms. I'm not sure how this worked. But he
Except
had
his
metal
arms.
handles. He had metal handles inside, and then there was like a waterproof bag that he was in. I'm not sure. I thought the whole point of a barrel was that it was waterproof already.
Wow.
I don't know.
Look, also, thanks for the trigger warning of every dark fear.
Oh no, I've got a solution for you of your dark fears, because the second trip. Anyway,
And a cat.
Graham's first trip took about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He survived, but it made him extremely ill and dizzy. So his second trip, he decided it was too crouchy in there. He went down the Grand Rapids again.
Yeah.
Not that long later, a couple of weeks later.
Okay.
Yeah. August. So it's about 5 weeks later. He decided to go a second trip, but what he would do is he'd keep his head outside the barrel while he's holding.
Yeah, that's better. I assume he couldn't unnail himself with his teeth. He's still trapped.
He's still trapped.
But it's true, having your head out, that does take away a lot of the insane, blood-wrenching fear of being trapped in a coffin.
Yes, but
Doesn't stop you drowning.
so he made but by leaving his head outside the barrel, he became hearing impaired for the rest of his life. So I haven't turned the volume up, but there's the roar. Yeah, there's the roar. It was very loud, and
Seriously, the noise of the water made him dead or like damaged.
Yeah, he became hearing impaired for the rest of his.
Seriously,
Or he got buffeted so much by the waves.
buffeted.
Maybe.
That's unbelievable. That never crossed my mind. A river could be so loud it would fuck your hearing.
There's another photo I'll show you later that
Wow.
the volume of water.
Yeah.
It's just gobsmacking how much water is flowing
Still, wow.
Yeah,
Nature's loud, huh?
here. Yeah, nature is loud.
Noisy nature.
What did he do? He lent his barrel out to some mates, and they went for some journeys. And then he built himself a bigger barrel, the 230, and then he can fit inside. And that's much more that's his comfy barrel.
He could clearly fit in there. He has room for a pony and maybe an extra bedroom.
So he went down the Grand Rapids 4 times in total, and he thought, I gotta do the Horseshoe Falls.
Yep.
He never did. We'll come to who did in a second.
Wuss.
But I'll tell you the story of the rom-com. So this is the rom-com that Graham organised in 1901, a double performance with his friend Maud Willard. The plan was that Willard would ride down in the barrel through the rapids to the whirlpool, and Graham would meet her at the whirlpool while swimming, and then swim down to this town that's like 6 k's down at Lewiston, because they've got dinner booked down there at Lewiston.
This is a date.
Yeah, this is a date. You ride down the barrel, and I'll swim down, and we'll meet you at Lewiston. And
Also, I got to add, Maud is such a sexy name.
yeah, and so for 1901, it was very, very on trend.
Saucy.
Now, this is a sad story. They didn't get on their date because Willard rode the barrel through the rapids, but disaster struck when she was caught in the whirlpool for several hours before they rescued her.
So she chunted to death.
No, she suffocated.
God.
Upon rescue, Willard was found dead, and the cause was believed to be due to suffocation. She took her pet fox terrier on the journey with her.
What a bitch. Like, seriously.
And, well, who's the problem here? When they examined the barrel, the dog's nose was lodged in the barrel's only air hole.
She took her dog.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that ends. That's my... Your Honour, she put her dog in there.
I love that you weren't so horrified about the cat, but now you're like the dog is a
I don't care
human.
for cats, but I do care for dogs. And
She took her dog. The dog wanted to go on the date, and then I assume they both died. So.
oh, good. So with the dog schnoz sticking through the only breathe hole. It probably inflated to twice its size from sucking in water too. So she suffocated because of the pressure of the water-inflated dog pressing against her ribcage. That's the untold story of Maud going down.
Maud Willard.
Yeah.
Maud Willard. So there you go. I know that you're horrified by that one.
Poor dog.
There is one more pet story coming up.
Is it a cat again? Because I don't care.
No, it's not. But in that story, the pet survives. So it's good. It's good. As I reached the brink at the very top of the Niagara Falls, the Horseshoe Falls, the big ones, the barrel did what I predicted it would do. And here so just turn up this.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very loud. Yeah. But I can't read over that.
I can't hear it.
I did what I predicted it would do. Paused for a moment and then made the awful plunge. So the barrel fell 160 feet. So this is 50 meters.
Okay.
And so I was calculating how long it takes you to fall. 50 meters. It takes about 3 seconds in the air.
I do it in 2.
You can't. Gravity doesn't work that way. You can't go faster than gravity.
You and your gravity.
No, that's the rules.
Is this the one with the anvil in it, or are we coming back?
This is back to the one with the anvil. This has got anvil, cushions,
cat.
passenger, and potentially a cat, although I can't confirm it. Some stories say cat, some stories don't say cat.
Let's say yes.
It's plunging over the Horseshoe Falls. So this is the big daddy. 3 seconds in the air. It hurtled towards the cauldron of rocks and raging water below and probably hit the water at about 112 kilometres an hour.
So by what do you mean almost concrete?
Almost concrete.
Oh, that's awesome.
The barrel hits the surface and plunges all the way through the water, spinning as it goes. And I think it went behind the veil of the falls, but then it hit the rocks down the bottom. Yeah. And I don't know how deep the Niagara Falls is, but it hits the
11.
And then the passenger says, before being shot like an arrow from a bow back into the churn.
Oh, it springed out.
Yep. Boing!
That's cool.
Like
caught for a bottle. Yeah.
It's kind of what you want. Because some of the stories that I will tell you later, are horrific, that involve not popping out like a cork in the bottle.
Less poppage, more staying there or exploding?
The whole thing didn't take that long. Maybe 15 minutes from when they let the barrel go up above the Horseshoe Falls, plunging over the top, then bobbing around in the water, and then eventually they fished the barrel out at the Canadian side. Yeah. It drifted towards some boatsmen who tore off the lid and found the heroic Fallsanaut. I don't know Fallsanaut. I made that up.
It's real.
I think it's a barrel naut.
Barrel naut.
Barrel naut? Fallsanaut?
Not would work.
Startled, seasick, a little bruised, but our friend Carlisle Graham was there. Good God! He shouted. She's alive!
I think he would have exclaimed.
He exclaimed. He definitely exclaimed. Yeah. Word of her success was shouted to spectators by megaphone, and a steamer, the Maid of the Mist.
Wait, who's the she here?
I will tell you.
Oh, okay.
I will tell you.
Oh, that's what I thought I missed.
Blew its horn in celebration.
Yep.
The Boston Globe said several days later that the feat had been accomplished that had never been attempted except in the deliberate commission of suicide. Mm-hmm. So the classic view is that adolescents, teenagers, are impulsive, short-term thinkers and not as smart as grown-ups. Like, basically the view is that they can't work out what the risks are in different sorts of situations.
If I jump over a waterfall,
yes,
would there be negative effect? I don't know. I'm 14.3.
Teenagers are too dumb. The classic view is they can't work that out. It's too dumb. They can't work that out. They can't plan. They can't impulse control until they're 25. This means that teenagers are more likely to make quick decisions and not think through their consequences.
I'm seeing some flaws in this logic, but carry on.
And look, there is some evidence for this, and this is a bizarre one. But kids actually get dumber between the age of 12 and 14. It's called a memory dip. Yeah, no, there's studies where they've shown educationally they can give the same test to a 13 or a 14-year-old, and they will have lower memory, lower ability to perform on a couple of cognitive tasks.
Because they're busy growing pubic hair.
It might be. Yeah. It might be. There might be something like that.
Yeah.
But that's not actually what's happening here. Anna Edson, or as she came to be known later at the time of the barrel, Annie Edson Taylor, was one of 11 children of American Lucretia Edson. They came from a milling operation in the Finger Lakes region of New York. So nearby.
Finger Lake is always funny to me, but carry on. And also 11 children, that's too many.
Well, she was one of them. That's not her fault.
No, but I blame the parents. As always, blame the parents.
Well, you should. I don't think there's anyone else you can blame for number of children than the parents.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. You have me there. It's fickle.
And or maybe the general patriarchy, But anyway, so as a kid, Annie had a dreamy disposition, but she was uninterested in dolls and things that a lot of the other, gendered things that she had. Instead, she was fueled by an insatiable thirst for adventure stories.
Stories, okay.
Yeah. She became a school teacher. That was what she got an honours degree. She did a 4-year training course. She got married briefly at 18, but then I think the baby she had died and her husband died not long later. And she said she regretted that and marriage never happened again to her. So that's where she acquired the name Taylor.
Unusual.
In the years after, she had a whole bunch of little adventures. She survived a house fire in Chattanooga, an earthquake in South Carolina. She was robbed by stagecoach, what are they called? Bushrangers? They're
Highwaymen.
Highwaymen, yeah. Not bushrangers, but yes, of course. They put a gun to her head. She refused to give him her money. She had $800 hidden in her dress somewhere.
800? That would have been like a bajillion.
Oh, that's a bajillion
right?
dollars. Yeah, hidden in her dress.
You could buy a planet with that amount of money back then.
And she said to the robbers, "Blow away," she told them, as she recalled, blow away.
Off you blow.
Fire away is the traditional thing, not blow.
Blow off. I challenge thee, blow off.
Blow away, she said to the bandits. I would as soon be without my brains as without money.
Wow.
They didn't do that.
On this we differ.
Indeed. Obviously they didn't, because she didn't get blown away.
No. Did she lose the money?
Don't know the rest of that story.
Oh, man, you left me high and dry on that one.
Well, seeing as she's telling the story, she's not dead, so they obviously didn't shoot her and take the money. But it was hidden in her dress. They didn't know how much was hidden in the dress.
Okay.
And dresses in those days.
I get it.
You could hide a lot of
No, I accept your
cash.
apology. I accept it.
Could be coins, treasure.
Can you imagine that? What's that noise? I don't know. It's nothing. Walk again. I don't think I can.
So Taylor moved around the country. So she settled in a part of Michigan, and she was teaching for a lot of this. Eventually, she ended up in 1898 teaching the waltz and table manners to young children of the rich people around there.
This satisfied her thirst for adventure.
No,
really.
it didn't. It didn't satisfy her thirst for adventure.
I cannot imagine that.
Yeah, but the income from this dwindled, and she started looking around for ways to make money. She moved around again. She went to teach music. She went to Texas. She went to Mexico City. Couldn't really find work that would really pay her, and this was a bit of a problem for Annie. I mean, like everyone, you need money, but this might have been part of what she was thinking. Right. So eventually, she returned to Bay City, and at that time, she read about the 1901 Pan American Exposition, which focused on the Niagara Falls. And she decided that she was going to do something that no one had ever done before. The idea came to me...
Fly unassisted.
Oh, that would be a great one. But no, the idea came to me like a flash of light. Go over Niagara Falls in a barrel. I can't find anything else in there that leads to this. She just said, you know what? I'm going to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel.
I was teaching these kids how to waltz, and I thought, what would be better?
And I get, early on, she loved adventure stories.
Sure.
She had some adventures. Carlisle Graham had gone down barrels nearby. So the idea was out there.
Yeah, okay.
So there was an idea out there, and people were focused on Niagara Falls. But to suddenly go, you know what? I'm going over the Horseshoe Falls, the big, scary-ass looking falls in a barrel. It's a strange one. It's a strange one. Now, I just want to say, key thing here, I didn't give out her date of birth before, so you maths nerds can't be working out how old she is at the time. But here's the thing. She didn't look like a daredevil. She didn't even look like a Carlisle Graham fancy pants, moustache and underpants daredevil.
No moustache.
No moustache.
No.
In 1901, she was 63.
Get serious.
Stout, greying, old school teacher.
Strong, proven survival.
No doubt, but it is not your image of a daredevil.
In the early 1900s.
Basically 800 now.
And a lady.
And yes, a lady in the 1900s when gender rules were stronger, but also even now, if you were to guess, what is the age most likely to do some sort of stunt like this?
I would have said 14.3.
Indeed.
Exactly. I mean, even before hearing that, that would have been exactly my guess.
But even so, you think of the like a whole bunch of modern daredevils. What's Jackass and stuff like that.
20s.
In their 20s, 20-year-old guys.
Yeah.
There are certainly women who do these things, but the stereotype is not that. And I've heard it said before, that women deal with enough pain already. They don't need to go out and get more pain.
Well, even without that, they're just often smarter than us.
It might well be that. I didn't actually look into the gender differences. Guys in general die more.
I've already died twice. I'm with you.
Yes.
Yeah, we've died way more often.
Way more often. Yeah. No, but throughout the whole spectrum of life, from baby through to 90-year-old.
Yeah.
In fact, there's solidly more babies born that are boys than women. I think it's
really,
yeah, it's close to 55% of babies.
Because we got to factor in.
Yeah, and so no, there's a couple. So during the your baby years, we're genetically weaker. During the old years, we've made dumber decisions
and genetically weaker.
So
in the middle years, stupid and genetically weaker.
Yes. So we die more. We certainly die more.
Fuck, we're strong.
But the stereotype is that this is the 20-year-old guy doing something dumb. And he designed the vessel herself.
Vessels being a bit fancy.
Now, Carlisle Graham was a barrel maker himself.
Yeah.
Annie was not. She was a waltz teacher. And
that gave her room to freeform a little. Like a barrel guy would have been narrowed to the confines
exactly.
of cooperage.
Think wider. Wider.
Yeah.
She made herself a model first out of cardboard and string. So I'm not sure how that worked.
They didn't have glue back then, that's why.
Sure. And then she got a beer keg maker to make her a barrel. And then she painted on the side here, Annie Edson Taylor, heroine. I think that's after she painted all the signs.
Yeah, I think claiming to be a heroine beforehand.
Yeah, okay.
Spoiler alert, so she made it.
Spoiler alert, she made it.
No,
I did say that because, that was Carlisle Graham pulling her out of the barrel saying, oh my God, she's alive.
Well, I didn't know that.
That was her.
I wasn't listening. I was not listening.
That's all right. So the finished product, it was uneven and oblong, and it's got a sort of slightly thinner end at the bottom where the anvil was, and a bit wide at the top, which is a good idea because you kind of want to have more air at the top so that it will float vertically.
Because I was wondering about the whole anvil wisdom.
Yes. What you want to try and do is keep it, not that it mattered that much, but you do kind of want to keep it vertical.
They survived the fall, but they bobbed up feet first and drowned. Bummer.
Yeah, would not be great at all. So had 10 metal loops around the barrel, weighed down by an anvil and maybe a cat and some cushions, and off it went on her watery journey. Took about less than 20 minutes, but it took a little while to open it. And now this is what Annie said afterwards. If it was my dying breath, I would caution anyone against attempting the feat. I would sooner walk up to the mouth of a cannon, knowing it was going to blow me to pieces, than make another trip over the fall.
I don't believe her.
She was horrified by the whole thing.
I believe she was horrified, but I don't believe she would walk into certain death over
probably not
probable death.
I think she was truly horrified. She wasn't actually that injured. She got some bruises and she got a cut on her head, a mild cut on her head.
Psychological scars don't show.
Yeah, but so
it freaked her out.
It freaked her out, and it was horrifying, but nothing really devastating. She became an instant celebrity.
I can imagine.
And this is 1901. So what do? They make poems about people. So one poem was...
And watercolours.
This great heroine of our nation has won both fortune and fame. Now people all over creation will praise this illustrious dame. Which, if you think about it, says absolutely zero about her or what she did. So you could use that for any great heroine of any nation.
Anywhere, at any time.
At any time. Yeah. But anyway.
Great dame. Good for her, though.
So the idea that teenagers make riskier decisions because they're dumber than adults is bullshit. So they're equally as smart as adults. Like in terms of brain processing, you work out...
I thought you were going to say we're equally as dumb, but either way.
That's the other way. Yeah, that is true. We are equally as dumb as teenagers. No, but you give them a maths puzzle, you give them some sort of logic thing, some sort of cognitive task, they are just the same. But what is the difference? Why are teenagers more likely to make risky decisions? And this points a little bit to Annie Edson Taylor at 63.
And the cigarette industry.
The cigarette, or maybe...
It's all about durries.
So it's a different part of the brain. It's about how teenagers, as you might guess, process social information. So one 2013 study from Harvard scanned participants in an MRI scanner and then alerted them that a peer was watching. So one of your friends is watching you while they're in the scanner. That wasn't true. They just said that.
They always lie at Harvard, though.
I know. So the observed teenagers, the ones that felt they were being observed by their teenagers, showed greater activity in the science bit of your brain, the medial prefrontal cortex. Like that's
The stop looking at me bastard.
the stop looking at me bit of your brain. But the adults didn't even get that. So their skin also they reflected this inner turmoil that they're having in there. So they start sweating more when they believe they're being watched.
No matter what they would do. You're lying still in this machine. Oh, you're being watched. Holy shit, that's dreadful.
Yeah. So similarly, they got another group of people to do like a driving game. And there's choices that are more or less risky. So it's not a driving game like Mario Kart. It's like a driving simulator where you've got to be really boring. And there was a whole bunch of like stoplights, red lights, but also yellow lights, amber lights where you can, and
degrees of stopperage.
And here's the thing. When teenagers, they were twice as likely to run yellow lights when playing the game in front of friends.
Yep.
So straight away, like
absolutely,
there you go. So there's a whole part of their risk calculation is weaved directly into their social thinking.
Absolutely.
So they didn't when they were playing it by themselves. They took more stable decisions. So it's all about their social decisions.
That actually utterly makes sense to me.
Oh, totally,
100%.
Oh, as someone who drove as a teenager with other teenagers in the car, you drive differently.
Not me. I was always very sensible.
Yeah, you were.
I'm utterly unmoved by peer pressure and always have been.
There was another study, and I love this. This one. So there's one about emotional tracking. I'll skip that. But this one, 2014 study on mice show that adolescent mice drink more alcohol if they're surrounded by other adolescent mice.
On.
So
that's just about resource scarcity.
I don't know. No, but here's the thing.
Then they get them to drive. No difference.
Adult mice don't do this.
No fucking way.
So adult mice drink the same amount of alcohol if they're by themselves or around other mice.
Seriously.
You put the teenage mice in a group and they'll drink more.
Squeaky's watching me. I'm going to get into this. I don't want him thinking I'm weak. That's ridiculous.
I just love that. I love that so much that it seems like it's
awesome.
And the argument for that is it's not just a human thing, that it might be mammalian or might be deeper than that. Adolescents in this stage of life seem to process social cues in a way that makes us take more risky decisions.
Yeah, for some reason, the thing that's seen as desirable is being an idiot.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and it's all about social. I love that so much.
See, I do wonder. I mean, I don't mean to be the science guy about it, but look, it might be accurately interpreted that way. I can imagine there'd be so many confounds and possibilities other than that, but I love this interpretation best.
Oh, no, love it away.
Teenage mice.
As you know on the
idiots.
Wholesome Show, we present semi-facts, things that are close, things that are based on science.
Oh, no. We present facts and then we interpret them.
Yeah, exactly.
In ways that make sense.
But there is no certain account of what is going on.
Much like science. It's
Much
always,
like science.
Always
Yeah,
up for
exactly.
challenge. We're just representing science here. That's pretty much all it is.
Annie Taylor
Not a mouse.
sold her memoir, but as you might guess, her fame and financial security were brief. So she said later she did the whole barrel thing for money. She did it for financial security. She was sick of not having money, and she thought this was a path to financial
She
security.
was probably also shocked that she was still alive at 63.
Look, no, maybe.
Like almost, actually, seriously.
Look, in
I'm
those
a
days,
single woman at 63 and I'm still alive.
Exactly.
I hadn't planned for that.
In those days, definitely. So within her decision making, none of it was about the bravado or anything. It's
Economic
about fun.
decision.
And so yes, this is not the same as the teenagers, but I think any risky decision, it's almost like we need to wrap it in a context. And that context might tell us a lot more about why people make decisions, not purely that they just do dumb stuff.
You should be an academic.
I should. Okay. So what did she do? She spent her final years, sadly, in poverty. She would pose for photographs with tourists she had a souvenir stand in the falls.
Yeah, fair enough.
She attempted to earn money from the New York Stock Exchange. I don't know that story. She talked about doing a second plunge over the cataracts in 1906, but didn't. She attempted to write a novel.
66.
She worked as a clairvoyant and also provided magnetic therapy for local residents, because that's what people did in 1900. They rubbed magnets on people to make them health. That's just what they did.
Oh God, working as a clairvoyant, that's up there with my dream jobs.
I know, because you've been over a waterfall.
No, just at all.
You
You're like,
you could probably do it.
What's your backup career, clairvoyant?
It wouldn't be the hardest. It really,
No,
Actually, you know what, listener? We should do an episode on the Wholesome Show about the actual tricks that clairvoyants use.
Why ruin it?
I want to know.
Also, you're trashing my future career prospects.
No, listeners won't be it, but they'll know that you go to other people.
They would be my first port of call for customers.
There's one final sad story for Annie. Her manager Frank Russell stole the barrel.
What?
And Annie then used most of her savings hiring private detectives to find it. It was eventually located in Chicago, but then it disappeared again sometime later. So
the goddamn Pinkertons?
No, I think yes, the Pinkertons were hired to try and get it.
It's always the Pinkertons.
Annie died in 1921, so 20 years after going over the falls.
So she was in her 80s.
And she was buried. Yeah, there you go. She was buried next to Carlisle Graham in the Stunters Rest section of Oakwood Cemetery in Niagara Falls. So there's a special section of the cemetery dedicated to the Stunters of Niagara Falls.
Also, Stunters Rest. It's just a phrase. Say it quickly, and you know you're going to screw that up.
She said that her bad health towards the end and near blindness was caused by her trip over the falls. Who knows?
Or age and situation. But yes.
All right. I just want to go through a few of the other people that have been over Niagara Falls for daredevilry. There are a lot of people. There are a few people who've gone over by accident. I don't really want to cover them. And there are many other people that have gone over for deliberate reasons that is not daredevilry.
You're more suicidal?
Yeah, not great. And it is a huge magnet for in the local area as a suicide.
Of course it is, because there's a romance to it even.
Yeah, I think I read one story that something like 5,000 bodies have been pulled out over the last 100 years.
Honestly, surprised it's that low.
Yeah.
Or they didn't find the other bodies.
And many, as I'll tell you in a second, of these daredevils, many bodies are not found.
Yeah.
So who else went over the falls? So this is the Horseshoe Falls. I'm not looking at the other ones.
Yep.
The next one in 1911 was Bobby Leach, a performer with the Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Of course.
He made a metal barrel. So I don't know if that's like a drum or it looks like a little tiny submarine sort of thing. He made it and subsequently spent 6 months in hospital recovering from 2 broken kneecaps and a fractured jaw.
Oh God, broken kneecap. Jaw would suck, but broken kneecaps.
I'm not making a barrel out of metal. Like
No.
In 1920, Charles Stevens from Bristol in the UK, he went over the falls in a barrel. Both Bobby Leach, who had gone over in 1911, and another famous guy, William Red Hill. Anyway, doesn't matter. They urged him to test his barrel first, but he refused, and you can guess the consequences
It went
there.
fine.
No, the barrel was recovered from the foot of the falls. The ballast had pulled Stephen's body out of the barrel, leaving just his right arm in the safety harness.
Oh, hell yeah. So he got dismembered by his anvil. Is that a fair summary?
I think that is an accurate summary of what happened.
What have we found? We got this arm. Call his wife.
Dismembered by anvil.
Oh, that's why he pulled apart. Oh,
I know.
God. Gross. So bleeding to death and drowning. Which one?
Oh, my God.
I assume drowning.
1928, Jean Lucia. He survived. He went over the falls in a large ball with a spring steel frame and a rubber covering.
What?
So,
what does that even mean?
I don't know. Some sort of steel ball with rubber around it.
Ball?
Yeah.
Okay, so like an earth ball. I assume, did he survive? Like it had more
ball.
spring to it?
He survived. He survived. So, well, that worked. George Stathakis, he a Greek immigrant working as a chef in Buffalo, New York. He went over in a barrel. Upon impact, the barrel was stuck behind the curtain of water.
Oh, cool.
And couldn't be recovered for 18 hours.
So he was fine?
No.
Oh,
he had an air supply for up to 8 hours, which is a lot more.
Wow.
And he though is our second pet story. So while George Stathakis died when they got him out after 18 hours, he took his pet turtle with him, which was supposedly a turtle that was 150 years old.
Not for long.
It survived.
Of course it did. That's how it got to be 150. Look, take your pet at all, you shithead. Your pet turtle. I don't know if I have an emotional response to that other than surprise.
I get it. Like, why not? Why not?
Why not?
You've got a pet turtle, you take a pet turtle.
Is that what you do? I'm going to go and do a possibly suicidal thing. I think I'll take my pet. It's not the next thought. It's just not. Maybe it's a Greek
what if
thing.
your pet has no one to look after it should you die?
Or if I would have made arrangements.
Or if you love going for walks with your pet, you'd be like,
I'd go for a walk with them.
Yeah,
I would walk my turtle,
don't go.
not try and smash my turtle to bits and or drown it.
So after this time, there doesn't seem to be any more pet stories. Maybe it was something in the early 20th century. People were like, I take my pet with me. Whatever I do, I do that.
It's true.
So William Redhill Jr., son of the guy who said, test your barrel, he went over in a craft he named the Thing. It broke apart on impact and Hill was killed. Then,
bad thing.
Canadian and American authorities both decided, no, you're not doing this anymore. This is freaking dumb.
So what year are we in roughly?
1951.
50s, okay.
Yeah.
The safety decade.
From that point on, they put fines on for anyone doing it. I think it's like $10,000 fine now, although people still do it.
That more sounds like a registration fee to me if you've got the right kind of media coverage, etc. So it's going to cost you 10 grand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just the cost of doing business here.
Yeah.
1961, Nathan Boyer went over the falls in a rubber ball nicknamed the Plungosphere.
That is a good name. That is a very good name.
The ball hit rocks on impact and bounced. Boyer was uninjured. Like,
fuck yes.
I know.
Yes.
He got it right. He got it right.
Did. The Plungosphere.
He went on a big bouncy ball.
If they make those with wheels and an engine, I would choose that as a car.
Totally. 1984. So there seems to be a gap. No one did it in the 70s. 1984, Karel Suchek went over in a barrel. He emerged with only minor injuries. Yeah. So what do we got? 1985, Steve Trotter got over in a barrel on his second attempt. The police had stopped him on his first one.
Halfway down, they catch him.
I don't know where they stopped him. Like maybe he was getting his barrel into the water.
Yeah, I mean, when does it count as an attempt?
Traveling with a barrel under his arm.
When does it count as an attempt? You're on the edge of Niagara Falls and you've got a barrel. It's like, that would be an attempt.
Look, son, don't do that.
Yeah, but you can call it an attempt.
Yeah, I guess if you're
Put
close.
Put that in your bio.
1985, there was a bit of a rush in the 80s. 1985, David Munday, he went over on his second attempt. His first one got stuck somewhere in, like, you can turn off Niagara Falls. So they do.
Can you if you're in a barrel?
No, so they turn it. They divert the water to the International Control Dam, and use it for a power station overnight. So they turn the Niagara Falls off overnight.
Like off. Like they actually stop. They just become Niagara Cliffs.
Yeah, I don't know they become Niagara Cliffs, but they reduce them a lot. Anyway, his barrel got stuck, got lodged at the top of the falls.
He didn't die in a like electricity turbine or something.
1989, Peter de Bernardi and Jeffrey James Petovich, they were doing a stunt for drawing attention to an anti-drugs campaign.
Well, that's the obvious connection.
Jesse Sharp in 1990, he went over the falls in a whitewater canoe.
Nope.
No, indeed.
That just means jumping off the falls.
No, it really does. He had intended to continue paddling on the river after the fall and had a dinner reservation at a restaurant at Lewiston 4 miles downstream.
Continue paddling.
He decided not to wear a life jacket in case it impeded an escape.
Yeah, fair call.
Or wear a helmet to keep his face recognizable. I think that...
So he's wearing the helmet wrong. Because you can still see your face when in a helmet.
I think his decision-making wasn't great. He died.
Was he a teenager by any chance? 14 and a bit?
No, his body was never found.
So we don't know how old he was. But that's what an idiot.
Okay.
I mean, that's idiotic.
Okay, there's a couple more. I got one more idiot.
Yeah.
There is another inflatable ball story. So Kirk Jones
in Plungosphere?
Kirk Jones in 2017 did a Plungosphere.
Jones?
Kirk.
Oh, Kirk.
The problem with him, what happened? The ball had been seen spinning in the rapids above the American Falls, and later went over the falls. He died. Yeah, so he got ejected from the balls. But in 1995, Robert Overacker went over the falls on a personal watercraft. Now, I don't know what a personal watercraft is.
It's pretty non-specific.
It could be a jet ski. It could be a canoe. Could be a kayak. Could be
plastic bags with a fin.
Yeah. It could be exactly. It could be the thong thing that you put in the pool.
In the pool,
the blow up
the
thong.
flamingo.
So I've no idea. But he did have another piece of equipment. He had a rocket-propelled parachute.
Hell yes. What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Is it so it expands really quickly?
I think so because you're only falling 50 meters. So high as it is, still a short fall.
Yeah, you need to make the chute open.
It failed to open.
Imagine that.
It failed to open, and he was pronounced dead at Niagara
Once
General
he hit
Hospital.
the bottom, the rocket went off, and he got blown across 3 states.
So there you go. The mortality rate for daredevil attempts is about 25%.
Is that all?
It's it seems
No, honestly, that sounds super low. I'm impressed.
more than not they tend to survive, but
Not necessarily happy about it.
there you go. So there's the thing. This is what I was trying to get through my head is
Yeah.
what do people think about when they're making risk decisions? And it seems even for Tina, it's not a broken bit of people's brain.
No.
It's the fact that we're using all of these other decisions. Our social
Yeah.
cues are what makes us make riskier decisions.
Yeah.
Social, financial, the things around us, the context around us is what's going to make us make riskier decisions. Not because we're dumb.
No, we're just measuring different things.
All of these people
Yeah.
saw fame or fortune or something else out there and had a different measure of the consequence. So it's not that
Absolutely.
people don't understand.
It could be as simple as meaning. It's just like if you were like what's her name, Matilda Smithers, the 68-year-old. You know who I mean?
Annie Taylor.
Annie, the 63-year-old.
Annie Taylor.
She said afterwards she wanted some money, but it could have also been like, I'm just freaking bored. I just drudge along.
I'm just bored. I'm trudging through life.
I need some meaning, some adrenaline, something, which is again a different reason for making a risk decision.
And not common amongst that age group at all to make decisions that look like that.
No.
But these things can get anyone. It's the context can make anyone to make these decisions. So here's the question.
I'll do it.
In what scenario? What scenario? This is not a yes no.
Yeah.
This is a yes and. What is the scenario that would get you to go over the barrel? Over the barrel. Over the
fall.
falls.
Well, for starters, it would
I
have
just-
to
I
be
just-
it would have to be in a plunger sphere. Because I'm not an idiot.
No rocket propelled parachute.
Oh yeah, no, I'd take that just in case. As long as I had the go button. What scenario? It would not be peer pressure.
God, it'd have to take a lot of peer pressure to get me to do that.
No, I can't think of any. Like I was actually genuinely quite resistant to peer pressure, even as a youth, for dumb
into
things.
you.
No, because I used to watch people do these dumb things. I was like, I don't care if you think it's funny or weak. So I watched some friends do some really crazy shit.
Yeah, but all of the cool stuff you ever do is peer pressure.
No, some of the cool stuff I do is because I'm just intrinsically cool.
Oh, cool, I get it.
It differs. But no, I can't. What were the scenario? Desperation. Like a big reward of some description. That's all I can think of. You?
I don't know. You put a barrel in front of me. I'm standing right there. There's a bit of me that says,
Fuck it.
fuck it. It might be fun. It might be.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
How big's the bit?
I don't know.
Percent.
I don't know.
Percent.
I'm non-zero. I'm non-zero on doing that.
Yeah, but 1% is also non-zero.
A bit higher than that.
6.
The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, him, Rod Lamberts.
The plungometer.
The plungometer. Brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Going Over Waterfalls.
Yes.